Brought to you in part by PBR.
Got a little cold last night, didn't it? Probably would have been much warmer had you been wearing UF Pro equipment sold by Winter Warfare.
Did you enjoy our accommodations, comrade?
They were excellent.
Would you give them a 5-star rating on Yelp?
5.5. Highly recommend.
I don't know if they even have had a protein bar today. So you know what they're not eating? Motherfucking hot dogs and chips.
Hell yeah.
Ira. Oh.
Somebody's new home.
When's the last time you've been stoked? PCCs and PCIs, they're a bitch, man. Doesn't work without no batteries.
We get past them. I mean, we're going to be passing real close to them if we take the road right here.
He's not picking up what you're putting down.
Motorcycle trail and go down over the hill and come all the way back around.
Rain up there to get over to the new pickup point.
Oh, that would be fine for them.
Listen to the words coming out of my mouth.
Set up the ambush.
No.
No, you guys will be mobile. All right, cool. Then,
That's what we said. That's literally what we said.
Hey, Robert, there, let's go beer. Say again? I said, have they left the OP yet? Yeah, for the third time, they've been sitting at their pickup point since 3:30.
It's on. There he is.
God fucking damn it.
On the floor with your legs kind of right wrapped up, and you can't put your feet anywhere. So it's kind of, I think two things this brings in is you're in a stress position of some kind without, you cannot do anything about that. And secondly, claustrophobia. Personally, I don't suffer with claustrophobia, but if you did and you got stuffed in here, and they drilled these doors shut as well, so they had a drill and they literally drilled them shut, and you could hear them doing that. If you had any kind of anxiety or anything about being in small spaces even, that could really trigger you and you could go into a panic attack quite easily. Difficult to tell though. I think the last session I had in here was the longest, and I think that was at least a couple of hours. It's the most comfortable time physically, but the most uncomfortable time mentally, because you're getting hounded and they're trying to extract information from you. And the reason why they make you not comfortable but relatively comfortable is because it makes you want to stay there, and the more you talk, the longer you're going to keep you there. But because I've already had this kind of training before, SERE, courses and stuff, I was kind of aware of that, and I wasn't going to let them trying to motivate me to stay there to talk. So I made sure that I was just going along the guidelines, giving very minimal drip-fed information. If you are mentally robust enough to do it, this is the sort of thing that could totally screw your head up, without a doubt, okay? It's not like sat at home and just listening to a bit of white noise on the stereo. When you combine all these aspects I've been talking about, it can really, really have a bad effect on your mentality. So for anyone wanting to do this, have a good think about your experience, your capabilities, but this isn't the sort of thing you can really practice, okay? Bear in mind, when we got to this point, we'd already been out in the field for 24 hours and had virtually no sleep, and we'd been non-stop working hard in, tough environments. So it's not like we were fresh coming into this. So anyone that does fancy doing this, it is a great way of testing yourself in a different way that you probably won't get anywhere else. But if you've got any problems with claustrophobia, don't bother. If you think that you won't be able to put up with cold, wet conditions, don't bother. I've got a channel called Prepared Pathfinder, if anyone wants to check it out. I'll go into outdoor stuff, treks out in the hills, gear reviews, skills, that sort of thing. So if you want to check it out, have a look. preparedpathfinder.com as well.
A legit instructor, so he doesn't just do YouTube stuff.
and I got a free hat out of it. But
It's random. Thanks for the opportunity, mate.
Yeah, dude. Anytime, man.
Cheers, man.
Over here, and you lost your shoes already, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So what kind of effect? Did you climb down blindfolded?
Yeah. They were guiding us and kind of grabbing us, you know, to make sure that we wouldn't fall.
While handcuffed? Or zip tied?
Yeah, but we were handcuffed to the front.
Down into the earth, and they de-hood you, and you get to see you're in a pit.
It was quite surreal, I guess, is the best word I can think of. Just to kind of go, man, because I know you had said previously, you know what, everything's just going to be upped, and you can kind of play that out in your mind, but once you get here, I was just like, whoa, no joke, find myself in a hole, how the hell did I get here? But I was like, yeah, this is going to be some legit, and it really plays with you. You know, you just kind of rattle on your thoughts of what's going to happen next, and you have no idea. And then we were kind of kept in there for, I think, like a few hours. Some dirt, you know, it came over dirt, and but it was quite an experience. I know Stoker was kind of sneaking me food and water, you know, and at first I thought he was tricking me, you know, so I didn't eat all of it. I kind of ate some just to get some food in me, but then I like dumped it underneath, and of course when they tilted me over, found it, you know. And who gave you food? And I only saw his hands. I don't know. But you still didn't know what you want to expect, so there was that anticipation as well. Like, what's going to happen next? Yeah. When's the hose coming? When's the dirt coming? And I never knew for the longest time what I was sitting on until I think it got kicked out at one point. It was right in front of me. And I think for me, this was the hardest part of the whole challenge. For without having any previous training and not knowing, you know, what should I give away? How far is too far? My YouTube channel is The Swish. Go to that channel if you guys want to see. I just kind of do occasional videos. I do it more for fun. You know, just kind of going over. I go do a lot of camping and overnights and stuff like that. So yeah, go look up The Swish and you'll find me there. I think I'm the only one.
The mixture of personalities and experience is what I enjoyed about this one. So this guy hasn't had this training. He's just an old grunt. You've done a survival course, a specific survival course.
Yeah.
So I don't know, that didn't prepare you for any of this.
Not really.
The SERE part.
No.
But this dude just came out and said, "Yeah, I'll give it a try." And all the talks we did, I told him it's going to be insane this time. And he came out here, and we all think, the entire crew thinks he did a fantastic job from beginning to end, especially during captivity, not having the training. So this is what this is all about. It's collaboration, training, testing yourself, and having fun with like-minded dudes. And, you know, there's plenty of benefits to it. So happy to have you out, man.
Yeah, happy to be out, man.
Yeah,
it was great.
You're welcome any other time, cadre or whatever.
Yeah.
Coleman Outdoors. Slaughtering stuff. People see that horrible stuff in the SERE challenge. It's all your idea. Like, this guy wanted to hook up electrodes.
Next year, we're stringing people up.
All we want to do is play with dildos and blow-up dolls, and you're wanting to actually torture these guys.
Spraying them with hoses.
Let's tie them down and deliver it to their asses. Another outstanding event. As usual, we have some gifts to hand out to people. Some of the returning people, you just get a handshake. But I've got, so Winter Warfare kicked in to help fund the thing. It's bigger, you know, the big deal. So big thanks to them. But we also got the TacticCon Armament. Sent out a couple things for you guys, the contestants. So I'm not gonna pull it all out, but you guys got some cool little red dot sights.
Whoa!
Wow.
Wow.
I think we got a magnifier in there. They also sent out some of their battle vest plate carriers.
Oh, fuck.
And they should be.
I wondered why he wanted to know what size plate carrier.
Yeah,
I was waiting for that
like-
the whole time he was out.
Yeah, he asked what size.
Yeah.
And then a couple plates for
Whoa.
the
Oh, wow.
So,
Thank you.
Nice.
for your next shootout. Eric Coleman, as usual.
Oh,
Made
cool.
you guys some
Oh, wow,
signs.
nice.
So we went with the Survivor this year.
Yeah, thank you.
But
Thank
like
you.
both, like I always say, you guys are fucking badasses. You're winners just for coming out and trying it. So
Yeah, thanks.
outstanding
Thank you.
job to both of
Well
you.
done.
This is cool.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
We got an extra one that's been totally time tested. Eric has done some great shit to that, so I wanted to give a special thanks to a guy who hasn't gotten one yet.
Oh yeah,
And
that's
helping
great.
out.
I love it.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Right on, brother.
Major crew member. Yeah, thanks, man. All right, so the final surprise, the winner of the event actually gets the keys to this not so old Dodge Ram TRX. And because neither of you made it to the extraction, that award goes to the OpFor.
Yay!
Congratulations on your truck.
Good job. Good job.
Oh wait, actually here. Let's give it here. There you go. There's your new truck.
You get to keep your truck.
We'll rotate it. These have been traditionally handed out as well for the last now third season. So this is just again something from me. It's got your name on there.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
If you're familiar with our Forest Service signs.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
You're welcome,
Thanks very
guys.
much.
Congratulations on making it through, and glad to have met you and have new friends for life. So
Cheers,
thank
mate.
you.
Yeah.
And Eagle for life, too.
It might be.
So.
It's got the Grunt Proof logo on there.
So I'll put it on. I gotta bend the bill.
You got to bend it kick style.
Yeah.
Look
Well,
on the back too.
if it's old-
Personalized.
Oh, nice.
That's
Got the
cool.
last few teeth.
I do too. So
Hey, I could just say that this challenge was, without a doubt, thus far, fucking the toughest yet, and it's probably only going to get tougher as the years go on. So my hats off to y'all. Y'all went through a lot. You had to battle psychological, physical, and environmental conditions, and it was grueling. So thanks for having a positive mental attitude and fighting a good fight, and hanging in there, all right? So I like to reward freaking warfighters
Thank you.
with my own personal coin, all right? And I appreciate it. I
Thanks,
look
mate.
forward to seeing you guys again in the
Thank
future.
Awesome. Thanks,
Thank
mate.
you.
Right on. Just want to take a few minutes and echo what the Sergeant Major said. Considering what I did to you, or what I had to do to yourself, Tom, you want care package, mate?
Oh, thanks very much. Cheers. Thanks, bud.
This is not as heavy as a plate, so it shouldn't cost you that much to
Thanks very much.
throw it in.
Thank you. I was
Oh, cheers, Bill.
I was gonna buy this book. Now I don't have
Now
to.
you don't have to.
Thank
the
you.
manifesto.
Yeah.
Great job, Dan. Yeah. Great job.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I passed these out to everyone last year. Just
Oh,
a
wow,
name
thanks, man.
name tape with
I hope I have enough
my
room
name
in
of
my
my
pack for all
company.
this shit.
Marvellous. Thanks very much.
I'll mail your stuff.
Oh,
if we need
thank
to.
you. Wow.
And then I also have just a Ranger tab with the name of 2 Alpha Solutions on it.
Oh, Brill, thanks very much.
It's like you have no idea what you're going into. You know it's going to be tough. It gives you an opportunity to test your mettle.
Yeah.
And I mean, this stepping into the unknown. It's just unbelievably big, and it speaks volumes.
Yeah. And that's what it's really about too, because so many people are like, "I hope you win. I hope you beat him." And in my head, I'm going up against myself. Of all things,
Yeah.
like we're not fighting each other in the ring or some shit like that.
It's a shame they didn't do that, though.
Huh?
It's not too late.
Having
Okay, let's do it.
It stays in
Get in the
that
fire.
pit.
All right, welcome everybody. It's the live chat follow-up for SERE Challenge Season 3. All right, now let me bring everybody in and we'll get this thing rolling. So the contestants, we've got Tom from Prepared Pathfinder.
Cheers.
How's it going, man? Then we've got Clinton, the Swish.
How's it going?
What's up, man? And we've got some known faces. Jared, 2 Alpha Solutions.
What's going on, man?
And then probably the winner of the actor of the SERE Challenge of the year.
Ebra!
What's going on, guys? So let's see. Yeah, that's about as best we're going to get. So, Tom, what was your favorite aspect of the whole thing?
I quite like the OP phase. Something I've done quite a bit of, and I thought the scenario was quite good. It's a good way to feed into what we were doing.
All right, Clinton.
Yeah, I have to agree with Tom. I thought the OP was great, especially right before everything kicked off. It was great to not know what was going to happen. I think Tom and I were, when's it going to happen? When are we going to get captured? Each time we had to go around and do a recon or something like that. So, but yeah, that was my favorite, and the second would have to have been the escape portion. Was my second favorite.
Yeah. So. Going into that, you guys, I told y'all it was going to be a little different. How much did that throw you off? I know when you guys first arrived, it was kind of late. We had a couple drinks, got to know each other. So I know anytime I left the room, you guys kind of looked around suspicious. So what was that anticipation like? Just wondering what the hell's coming, and then you get a freaking mission and...
Yeah, obviously we didn't know how it was going to pan out. Totally different from previous series. So I think both of us were kind of like, what's going to happen next? Is it going to be now? And it's that constant kind of nerves kind of wears you down a little bit. Been like super anticipation mode sort of thing.
Did you guys expect to get captured out on your OP?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were every single time. I think Tom and I were I think we were like, you think it'll be this time, Tom? I think there was 3 recons we did all together, and each time we're like, this is it. See you on the other side, buddy. So yeah, the whole time. And I even thought when we were walking down that road, I was just kind of waiting for it to happen there too. So.
All right, now. Guys watching, you can throw in some questions if you want. We'll get to those. But on the OpFor side, you guys didn't really know what was happening on the contestant side. So after watching the episodes, what was y'all's perspective after seeing what they were actually doing?
So we went out there. What was it? Several hours before they got there, or maybe even the night before. I don't know why. For the life of me, I can't remember. But anyways, we were already out there and established, but we didn't know exactly what was going to go down, how it was going to go down. We knew they were going to come out and set up an OP, and the idea was give them time, right? Give them time to observe us, observe our behaviors, report on our activity and stuff like that. Make them think that they're going to be captured, during that first few hours of them being out there, but. Essentially, we were just putting on a show for them.
Yeah, so I mentioned that you guys weren't really trying to capture them yet. I know Jared was out there helping with the setup. So I know he knew about where they were. Yeah, so there was a couple times I was thinking we just have you guys go up there and actually try to capture them, but that would have been kind of fucked up since Jared knew exactly where they were.
I remember Oh, go ahead.
Cool.
I was going to say, I remember while we were at the OP, I had to look to my right, and there was like a pink or orange flag in the tree. And that's why I thought, oh, this was all staged because Randall had led us right to the OP in a sense. So I thought, yeah, they're going to come up here and capture us. They know right where we're at the whole time. Because I remember Brent walked right out of that tent, and I knew it was him right away. I'm like, "Oh, Brent's here," I mean, Brent, you're just a tall dude. I mean, I could see him. Well, I had the binos, but yeah, I'm like, "Yep, here we go." So I thought that flag was
some of those patrols got really close as well, hey?
Yeah.
There's a couple of times where we're thinking, yeah, they're basically just going to walk right up on us here, and they got really quite close to us as we was laying there. So yeah, it got quite tense when we was in the OP phase.
Yeah, that's an important note that maybe the audience doesn't realize is like these two contestants had no idea who was out there. Like they didn't know who the OpFor was. They didn't know how many OpFor there was. So I mean that was 100% realistic. Yeah, them going out there and seeing what's coming out, moving and going through, like they had no idea how big that enemy force was, or who was all even part of it. Because like I said, like we were already out there doing our thing before they even got to Randall's cabin up there.
Yeah, OpFor, we set up their camp the day before, and they actually did their overnighter out there. So, Tom and Clinton, who did you guys think was actually out here? Like, I'm sure you knew somebody was, but who were you guessing would be out here?
Well, I'd already been in touch with Bill Stoker, and he told me that he wasn't going to be able to make it this year, so it's a shame he wasn't going to be there. So yeah, but when I seen him through the optics, I was like, "You fucker, I see you." And I was kind of guessing Brent was going to be there because he'd been on the previous series. I thought he's going to play a great part, playing an enemy combatant. I think he'll bring a lot to it. So I was kind of hoping or expecting him to be there, but also I was thinking he'll be a good interrogator because he can intimidate people, So I was kind of expecting and actually hoping to meet these guys out there.
All right, cool. Yeah, it's
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say for me, I had no idea. I think I was expecting Jared to come out because I had been in touch with him a few times prior to. I think he actually reached out to me way back earlier in the year. But yeah, it was. I had no idea. And then when I saw Brent come out of the tent, I was like, "Is that Brent?" I said, "Yep, there he is." And we didn't know. I couldn't see anybody else. I knew there was like 2 or 3, but yeah, didn't know who else was showing up.
Yeah, it's turning into a nepotism. Every season, the guys return. So by like season 5, we'll have 30 dudes out here. So I saw some of the interrogation questions. We'll get to that stuff, guys. Trying to go in order, or I'll get lost. But for people who maybe haven't done stuff like this, where stealth and evasion are key, because as we mentioned, you guys didn't know when capture was coming, so you had to treat the OP like a legit mission. So we captured y'all's movement pretty well. The 2 recons you guys did a night recon as well. So just kind of walk us through the added physical and mental stress of just doing these OPs and recons out there.
Well, there's, as you guys all know, and some of the viewers all know, conducting an OP is quite a tiring thing. You're not moving much, so it's not like you're patrolling around or anything, but staying constantly alert and having to be disciplined enough to watch a target for hours and hours and hours on end, alternating between that and then watching the other guy's back, it does take it out of you. And then, as I mentioned before, about this constant thing where you're always on edge because something's going to happen at some point. It does tire you out, especially when the enemy patrols are out looking for you, and they're sending out drones and vehicles, and they're making announcements over microphones and stuff. Yeah, it does put you on edge, and that kind of psychologically wears you down a bit. What do you think, Clinton?
Yeah, for me, it was, and it was also the unexpected. You didn't know how many recons you were going to do. I think we did 2 during the day, and then 1 or 2 during the night, if I remember. So it was the idea of you just couldn't be complacent. You had to be on alert the whole time, like Tom said, switching out on and off. And then when it's kind of getting dark out, you think, okay, maybe we can execute a rest plan. I think every time we executed a rest plan, boom, recon, and so it'd have to go around and do that, get back. And, but yeah, no, it was, I think you're right, Tom, just to piggyback off what you said, people don't realize that even though you're not moving much, it can be quite taxing on your body, fatigue wise and stuff, doing an OP for that long.
Yeah, and obviously we didn't get a lot to eat either. I think we had 1 MRE each, and that was only after we'd been there for half a day anyway. And as people will probably know, that they weren't even the proper MREs, were they? There was those humanitarian things. So we didn't have an awful lot to eat, and we didn't have a lot of chance to actually eat either. So that's another aspect to it. People don't realise if you try not eating for half a day and constantly working and constantly be under stress, then that takes a toll on you as well, actually.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So here's a question: do you have to worry about civilians accidentally walking into the training area? Absolutely. It's public land, so we work that into the planning. And these guys get like a little safety brief when they show up. And one thing I tell them is just to, if I'm not coming to them or telling them about that, just assume everybody is unfriendly. So that would kind of mitigate any possible run-ins. When you guys were evading, there was some people out there shooting, as people do in the woods. So that's one reason we got these vehicles, so we can get a handle on that. And can't keep people out of the woods. It's good to see people enjoying the woods just like us, but we can at least say, hey, there's guys out here in the woods, so fucking don't just be randomly shooting. Yeah. So Jared, tell us about that device you had.
For the radio stuff. So that was an SDR dongle. I don't even know if I have it in here. Oh, it's right here. What it is, trying to get it unhooked. Here it is right here. I don't know if you can see that. RTLSDR.com. It's a little software-defined radio, and it lets you see in real time a slice of the radio spectrum. And I had a hook to my phone. There's a patch cable that goes between that and your phone, and then you have to put an antenna on there. But it allows you to see a slice of the radio spectrum and to see what frequencies people were talking on. So we pretty much already had an idea what frequency or what band of frequencies was being used. So I was able to narrow it down from that, but I didn't know the exact frequency that everybody was using, that Clinton and Tom were using. So what I did is I monitored a couple different sections of frequencies, and whenever I would see a peak rise up on the spectrum display, I would go to that frequency and see what kind of radio comms were going on there. And within about 20 minutes from the time I turned it on, I was able to find Clinton and Tom's radio frequency that they were talking about to the HQ with. And at that point, we were able to listen into all their communications back and forth between each other and headquarters.
So does the CTCS or DCS, does that mitigate that at all?
No, not one bit.
Okay. Yeah, see, I don't know if you told me or who told me, but we kind of saw stuff like that coming, which is awesome. I think that added a good aspect to it. So I saw people commenting on the episodes that led to them being captured. So that would be possible,
Absolutely.
There's a little bit of gameism there, because I wanted to show full sit reps, and you're typically going to give your grid or some kind of polar reference. Like, it's just part of it. So, there's a little bit of stuff that's happening there that if you think somebody's listening to your frequencies, you're going to try to mitigate that. But it's all right. I saw another question. Was it possible to not get captured? Was every stage required? Yeah, we wanted to push everybody through each category of SERE. And so there's kind of a linear progression the traditional schools will follow. And that's, you can flip that around. Like, we'll change it up in the future events and have more fun with it. But okay, we're still good. See, now I'm not sure if the stream's getting pulled or if the weather's affecting us.
Yes,
so
good.
Okay. Yeah, so I was actually going to be cool if you guys used that SDR during the rest of it, but either way, I think it kind of adds a whole aspect to it, because now they have to worry about pretty much everything, unless, like I said, I force them to do sit reps. But it adds an extra component of like, well, shit, we can't even talk to our support guys now. So did you guys think about that happening during the evasion part?
We had talked about using the SDR to be able to listen in, and we only did it in the OP portion of it. Once they escaped, we didn't use it anymore. We had a pretty lengthy discussion whether we should or shouldn't, or if we're going to or not. And we all kind of collectively decided once the escape portion of it kicked off, we weren't going to use it, and we didn't. We didn't know exactly what you would allow us to do or anything like that, and we didn't want to seem like it was cheating either. So we just kind of collectively said we're not going to use it for the escape portion and just not use it.
Yeah, if I can just add to that, if I remember correctly, I think what the consensus we came to was like, we're not going to use it initially because we weren't, different from the previous like seasons where the hunter got like hourly sit reps. We weren't going to get any of that stuff this time. So we just kind of went at it with like, hey, we got 4 guys. There's 2 of them. Let's see what we can do on our own. And then if we're getting nowhere, then we're going to start dabbling into the, listening in. But we went out there like, yeah, we're not going to use this right off the bat because we want to see what we can get just on our own, just doing normal tracking shit.
Yeah, Roger that. The other thing to think about actually is, in reality, if you was doing an operation like that in enemy territory, you'd have encrypted radios. So that would be slightly different to reality.
Well, yeah, but you got to consider you guys stole enemy radios, right? So
yeah, but I mean on the OP phase.
OP.
Yeah. Well, hopefully in this scenario, we're working with a bunch of mountain dudes. So it's possible you get handed a little old Motorola freaking GMRS. So
yeah, that's another possibility. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
a lot encryption's not the be all end all either. I mean, you could still radio direction find a signal, even though it's encrypted and you don't know what they're saying.
Yeah, but you wouldn't be able to have everything in clear. Things like all the information going over the net.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, guys. Try to keep the questions to where we're at, just to help us out, and then we'll actually get your question. So. Let's get to interrogation. I lost it, but somebody asked how hard the interrogation portion was for you guys, so we can get a little more into that. So let's go from once you're captured. So okay, well let's go back. You guys knew something was coming. So pretty much for 24 hours, you're assuming you're getting captured anytime you're being told to go somewhere or whatever. So once you're getting picked up for extraction, was that when you knew it was going down? And then let's go from there, from extraction to capture.
Yeah, I was pretty certain that we was going to get caught at that point because you're in a contained space, aren't you, in a vehicle? And when I've done SERE courses before, that's when they captured us too, in a vehicle. Just one for the viewers. People might have thought, well, why didn't you try running away? Well, in real life, if someone's pointing a weapon in your face, you're not going to try running away because you're going to get shot. You're going to be killed. And the other thing is, it'd be a bit silly, you got to play the game a little bit because we knew that being captured was part of what we were doing. And if I tried kind of say, I don't know, opening a vehicle and jumping out as we're driving before they even captured us, it would have messed things up massively. So I think there's a little bit of game playing by us on our part. But the actual capture itself was done very well. It was a little bit heavy-handed in places, I think. And the guys that saw me shout out the safe word, peanut butter, that was a genuine thing. Okay, that wasn't a psychological thing. I was literally suffocating inside that plastic bag on my head. So anyone watching that thinking, he's being a bit soft there. I've been in that situation loads of times on training, and it wasn't a case of I can't hack this. I was literally suffocating. So I had quite a thick hood on the jacket I was wearing, and the mask went over the top of that and kind of formed a seal. So that's what happened there.
Yeah, that's those crappy plastic style freaking sandbags, and there's no breathing in those.
Yeah, I think maybe for the future, maybe poke a couple of holes in them near the bottom end to let some air out.
No, we'll just use trash bags next time.
Yeah, we'll poke one about this.
What's that?
Do you have something to add?
Oh yeah, I was I same way. As soon as we got on, and I think you were trying to make us feel relaxed. Oh, we're done. We're gonna get hookers and booze and this and that and the other, and going back. And I'm in the back of that thing, like I'm just looking out the windows, like where are they? Where are they? You know. And I didn't even expect the pop shot. I was like, oh, there it is. And but no, it was pretty cool. How as soon as Randall's like, oh, I took the turn wide here. That right there was the trigger for me. I was like, here we go. And but yeah, it was still really good. And when it happens, and I think if anybody is going to try to capture someone, that's a good point to do it because it's almost like a choke point in a sense. But yeah, no, it was great. It was good experience. And those handcuffs around my back, man, I was like I couldn't feel my right, and I had to hold on to that strap in the back, and I was like losing feeling in my right. I'm like, oh, I hope I don't fall out, And then someone was holding on to me the whole time on the trip. So
Yeah. So wait, did it cross y'all's mind at all when I told you to put your stuff in the back and your guns up front? Did that throw anything off, or was it just like, yeah, whatever, go with it at this point?
Yeah, it's a bit of an indicator to me, but we knew we was getting captured at some point. I mean, in reality, I wouldn't have allowed my weapon to be taken off me at any point.
Right. I knew that would be an issue with at least the production side, but we gotta disarm you. I was thinking in the beginning, like, well, they could keep their guns, and if you're in the back of that truck, it's hard to get a rifle up. So still, if you've got bad guys at a window with a gun in your face, are you really going to try to draw your rifle while that's happening? But then we just decided, like, fuck it, we'll just make them surrender them, And you guys look tired enough walking up to the truck. It's a lot of Joes would be like, oh yeah, I'm dumping all my shit. Mission's over, we're done. So
Well, I
just kind
remember
of like a production thing.
We kind of kicked this around, like how can we disarm them? And I think the consensus was like, hey, like they're getting extracted by a partisan, right? Who's going undercover. Like when you're coming in, hey, we need to take your gear and hide it because we got to go through checkpoints. So that was kind of what was trying to get conveyed, like that, and that's why you guys were putting on coats over your shit. But the reality is you still got like cami paint on your face. But that was what was trying to happen. It was like, hey, you got to go fucking gray, man, because we got to get through these enemy commie fucking checkpoints. So let's hide your weapons underneath the seat or whatever.
But I think too, with this is a training aspect too, which is quite different from real world. Like Tom said, when a capture is imminent, because that's the whole aspect of this challenge. In a real life situation, yeah, you might think you could get captured, but in that situation, it's very possible, I think, to get, oh yeah, we're done, because you're not necessarily expecting to be captured. So there might be a little bit more. You still be on alert. Like Tom, I wouldn't give up my weapon, but maybe wipe the camp face paint off and take a little bit more time, and you could be a little more relaxed. But I think since we knew capture is going to happen, there was still that high alert for that. But in a real world situation, I don't think that would happen.
All right, so we got a pleasant surprise. We got a Stoker-matic here, another bad guy.
Ooh. Hey, Bill.
Yeah. Welcome.
Hey, Bill.
What's up, Stoker?
How goes it?
All right, let's see if I could turn you up a little bit. All right, so we're at about the capture point, but Stoker, if you want to give us some of your thoughts quick on your side of what you saw on the mission leading up to capture.
Yeah, I mean, us having some fun with all the stuff there. Oh my gosh, there we go. And good experience for both. It was from previous episodes. Had purposation for what everybody was doing, and to the sense and to our side of the house, to even give us a little bit more training by
Yeah. So, all right. Now you guys are captured. You go for a nice cold freaking truck ride. By the way, guys, we didn't just put them in the truck and drive them there. So, you know, there was people outdoors that probably saw what looked like some serious freaking shit going down. Guys getting rolled up, and this was like in the morning when people are going to work and stuff. But so what? Just you know, guys, just share your thoughts on what's going through your mind through the capture, you know, and then getting dumped into this pit.
Yeah, so I was just sitting there trying to calm myself down because obviously you've been through quite a sort of fairly violent capture phase there, and you know, the best thing to do really is to try and collect your thoughts, think about what your next actions are going to be, but you're only second guessing everything because we didn't know exactly what was going to happen. But I think my personal thoughts were just calm yourself down, just get yourself ready for the next part because you know you don't know what's coming. So just try and steel yourself a little bit and try and chill out a little bit. Enjoy the ride, really, to be honest, before it starts getting crappy again.
Yeah, I agree. That's the ride. The ride, in a sense, was the break before things started happening over. Because as soon as we got out, it was search, 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 and so yeah, it was. You know, having the mask over your head, you know, it does restrict your breathing a little bit. So it was like, okay, breathe slowly, you know, at which, you know, my heart rate was going ta 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 ta, you know, when that was happening. So it was a good chance to kind of slow my heart rate a little bit because, you know, didn't know what was going to happen next. I thought we were going to go straight into interrogation, and then we got put in the hole for a couple hours.
Yeah. So you get forced to, well, you get strip searched, and they do a pretty in-depth search while they're talking shit and everything. So what's your impressions? You know, you climb down a ladder, that happens, but what's your impressions once that hood comes off and you see where you actually are?
In a funny way, I was kind of impressed. Yeah, because it wasn't just a case of we were sat down in a room or something, or in a tent. We actually prepared something, and it was really quite good. The fact that we was in a ditch in the ground with wire over our heads and all the rest of it, and some white noise while shitty music playing and stuff. In a funny way, like a professional kind of like outlook, I was quite impressed with the preparations you'd done, and I was thinking, yeah, this isn't going to be comfortable, but they've put some good effort into this.
Yeah. That mask came off, and I saw the hole. We were in the hole, and I'm like, "Is this a Chuck Norris missing in action film?" You know, Rambo 2. You know, which Brent did a good job making me feel like I was in Rambo 2 all the whole time. But I could tell he was quoting the movie, some of the movie, which was pretty good. So yeah, that was my first initial. I was like, wow, man, they're putting us in a hole, man. I remember the chat before we ever came out. It's all good. The ante's going to be up. Just everything is going to be. So when that happened, it was the realization, even at that, just kept getting more and more like, okay, this is a real deal. And it was great. It was, you know, looking back, it was a great experience.
Yeah. So somebody asked about how hard the interrogation was. So I put y'all's thoughts a little bit in the intro, but if there's something you want to add in there, like you were in captivity, Tom, for just over 24 hours. Clinton, you were in for almost 26 hours. So, you know, that's after a 24-hour. Yeah.
Did he get good?
You think on that, but you didn't get shit to eat in captivity.
Yeah, for me, it was, I had never had any kind of interrogation training, none. I know on the OP, Tom and I talked, he was kind of giving me a little bit because he had, you know, but I see a question, the sleep deprivation affect mental performance there. So this kind of ties into it. When you haven't slept, you know, that long, and now you're getting interrogated and having no training, which was, maybe it was good for the audience to see that, hey, this guy's had no training. How would a person with no training react to a situation like that? And yeah, it was very difficult because I was just kind of basing everything that I had seen off the previous seasons. That's why you really didn't see me talk a whole lot the first time, because I know in season 2, Brent really, they didn't talk a whole lot. So, and then I think in the middle of it at some point, I thought it was Jared. I think it was Jared, try to be a little bit more forthcoming. And then I just blew the lid wide open. So I learned a lot of great lessons on that, which was the point of the training. And that was my takeaway on how far to go, how far not to go, with Tom's help and everything like that. But yeah, real difficult for me having no training. But now that I've kind of had that situation, I'd like to think if I were ever in that situation, I'd be able to handle it much better.
So from my point of view, I've done a real-time SERE course. I've actually done it 3 times over, and that was a 36-hour interrogation phase on each of those. What we did here was as hard as the ones I've done in real life, as in, the military, the UK military run. We just underwent slightly different methods. But it was pretty much as hard as the other ones I've done in real time. The only other thing that was harder in the real courses is we went out on the run for 5 days before we were captured, so we was degraded quite a bit more. And just to answer that question that somebody asked there about sleep deprivation, we hadn't just had the 24 hours in captivity; we'd had 24 hours before that with virtually no sleep as well. So I'd like to challenge anyone watching this or watching the program to go for 48 hours with no sleep and then try and stay mentally agile, okay? Because during the interrogation, that's what you've got to be. You've got to be mentally agile. It's not just a case of saying no to everyone. If someone asks you a question and you don't answer them without being disrespectful to Clinton, what he was initially doing would antagonize the captor, which would mean, if you don't answer a question or you say no all the time, you'd probably get an AK-47 butt in the face and you start losing teeth, or they start sticking a knife in you or something like this. So what you've got to do is not antagonize your captor. You've got to answer questions, try and drip feed information, very minimal stuff. And if you know they already know something, then that's the sort of stuff that you give them. So if you know that they know that you're in the army, and they ask you what part of the service you're in, you answer that question. For example, before we was interrogated, they showed us that they had Clinton's identity card, and they read out his rank, his service, and stuff like this. So that was safe information that I knew they had. And funny enough, in one of the videos, somebody criticised me for saying, "Well, he threw Clinton under the bus there. He said he was in the army and he's a staff sergeant." But to me, that's a perfect bit of information to give, because it's showing that you're trying to be compliant and you're not antagonizing a captor, but you're giving them information that they've already got, so it's harmless. It doesn't make any difference. And there are certain procedures you follow when you're in what's called conduct after capture, and I'm not going to go into those right now because it's actually not where everyone's knowledge. It shouldn't be broadly given out, but I was actually following that procedure, and I didn't do too bad without sounding big-headed. I've practiced it before, and during the interrogation phase, I kind of followed the procedures that you should be following. And it's all about trying to keep yourself alive and your fellow captor as well.
Yeah, so let's switch over to the OpFor. I had seen some comments, and some friends and family asked me how much of the interrogation and characters were planned and scripted and such. And we talk about this behind the scenes. Stoker's a big help with helping me war game stuff, but as far as like characters and stuff, I think I just offered up a few guidelines, like, hey, this is how it's going to go this time. This is our timeline. And so really it was like, Brent was like, hey, can I be in character the whole time? I'm like, dude, if you can fucking do it the whole time. So and it was cool to see kind of different styles between you guys, so what were you guys planning, like, going into it, and kind of what kind of method were you using to actually do this? Because it's at least 24 hours of doing this interrogation.
Bill, do you want to go first?
Yeah, that's fine. Is it?
Yeah, much better.
Awesome. Yeah. less of, you know, read Clinton and Tom were giving, kind of use that on back to, and that's kind of what, you know, stuff being used. But you know, that personalities, and so try to those using to the best of our to come at bundles different methodologies. So just and I'm gonna go get a Besa.
Yeah, I think so when we first talked about like the scenario and like how the OpFor was going to be, you know, the backstory in OpFor and everything, you know, part of the scenario was like international communists were back in this, you know, left-wing California fringe group. So I think it played in very well, right? So Bill played the role of, hey, homegrown American communist, right? So he doesn't have an accent. He lives there. He's just on the left. And then I was, you know, trying to portray the international communist coming in from that, you know, communist back country as the, you know, advisor, right? The senior advisor. And it just kind of worked out well. Bill went first in the interrogation phase because I needed time to go get my little fucking communist commander uniform put together. So Clinton hit the nail on the head, man. I love Rambo 2 or First Blood 2. I love Rambo 3, the interrogation scenes with the Russian commanders. Like, I know that movie front and back. Clinton knows it front and back too. I didn't know that until after the fact when we were quoting lines back and forth. But yeah, I kept, if you watch interrogation phase, I kept using lines from First Blood 2 and Rambo 3 in the interrogation on them. So those are some of my favorite movies. And when I found out that, you know, what we were going to do as far as the OpFor is concerned, I was like, dude, I want to be him, man. I want to be the Russian commander.
Yeah. And so here's a good question. Was there any realistic chance of escaping the box? Is that tactically reasonable? So for this, no, because that means they're escaping through possible people's property. That's not cool. But you know, Tom, did that cross your mind at all? Trying to find a way out of that pit if you had the chance.
I did actually consider doing it a couple of times because I kind of felt things out a little bit, and I thought if I can quickly get the net off and make a run for it, I probably can outrun these commie fags. But the thing is, we had no boots on our feet, and the second thing was just put my head in sensible mode. If I did that, or if either of us did that, if we actually did escape and we did actually manage to get over the fence, what's going to happen next? I mean, where are we going to escape to in reality? You know, were we just going to keep going? You know, that's outside of the gameplay, isn't it? So I was kind of playing the game a little bit. I thought actually I possibly could get out of this if I picked the right moment and nobody stood right over us watching us at that point. Possibly could get away, but it would be pointless. Firstly, no feet, nothing on your feet, and secondly, where the hell are you going to go? And you probably end up just doing what ended up happening to me anyway at the end of the series.
Yeah. So was the pit under constant guard? Yes, it was. And I don't know if we did that on purpose, but there was plenty of times where Clinton and Tom probably thought they were alone, and that's when you could hear them start to chit chat, and they'd either get sprayed with the hose for that, or like there's a couple times I was out there, like when there's an interrogation happening, there was a lot of personnel in there. But yeah, somebody was on there all the time, and I think, Tom, you can back me up. It's something you would definitely at least assume that you're being watched.
Yeah, and we didn't have good observation. Obviously, we were at the bottom of a hole, so we only had limited observation. So yeah, you could pretty much assume you were being watched all the time, but we didn't know or not because we couldn't really see much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that
so
was the thing. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
no, go ahead, man.
I think that was the thing for me is, we were put in that hole. I mean, we were blindfolded the whole time. We didn't know where we were. I mean, so where could you go? I mean, we were looking. I saw a couple gaps in the top, like that might be a possible way out. But yeah, when you don't know where you were, it's first of all, which way are you going to run? Let alone run. I mean, you could run right into where all the guards are. You don't know. So yeah.
Yeah, it's not fun and games escaping through a forest where you don't even know where you are without shoes. That's a bummer.
And we did pull guard all night long on them when they were in the hole as well.
Yeah, and that's when I think the music got silly. Because I had a playlist, and then I told you guys just to, I gave you the phone with the speakers, like figured out. So as the day went on and people got bored and creative, Brent, you start to hear some marching songs and stuff, and then I come out at 3 a.m. or something, and Stoker's just got some insanity happening. So, did you guys sleep at all in the pit?
I think I got a little bit here and there, but it was literally just a few minutes, I think, here and there. It was so uncomfortable in there. We was crushed in there together. And it was obviously pretty damn cold as well. And with the noise and the light as well, I don't think either of us got much at all, but I think we possibly got, a little bit here and there through sheer exhaustion more than anything.
What was the worst? Oh, go ahead, Clinton.
I had just a piece of dirt or rock right in between my spine and back muscle, and I'm like the whole night, and I was like, and you can't move, I mean, we were just like sardines in a can in there, probably even worse. But no, I don't think I got a wink. Maybe a few minutes. I don't even remember. I think I was so deprived. I don't even remember.
Just a little secret, that wasn't a rock.
It's not a secret anymore.
As much as you two are snuggled close to each other, I'm surprised.
You're a sexy bastard, Clinton.
It's the British accent.
What was the worst for the night part? What was the worst? The cold, the light, or the music?
I'd say the noise. Yeah.
For me, it was, I guess so. There were a couple, I think you played like Raining Blood, and I was like, oh, Slayer, cool. And then there was a duck song played, and I'm like, oh, I played this song for my son on the way to school. But other than that, I think you guys were playing like some two dudes talking about gay sex, and I was like, oh man, so after and at first it doesn't bother you, but when you're just going for hours and hours and hours and hours on end, you're like, okay, it does get to you.
Hey, if the FBI is watching Randall's phone, I don't know what they were thinking when they saw all his Google searches.
Oh, I'm done.
While they were in the pit.
That's why I have a separate phone for that, not my personal phone, because it's like looking up SERE interrogation methods and going through all this Captivity, CIA stuff. I'm like, yeah, we're in trouble.
The Yoko Ono did it for me. When you started playing Yoko, I'm like, oh,
repetitively playing it. Yeah, that was horrible.
Oh, you can thank one of the viewers from last year suggested that. Somebody suggested, because I had 3 Yoko songs, but somebody suggested one, and going down the rabbit hole, I didn't know she was that popular. But one of them was her just howling in a shopping mall in the last couple of years, and people clapping to it. So I'm like, dude, this is going in there. Absolutely.
Yeah, there's some messed up people in this world, isn't there?
Yeah. All right. So let's get to the evasion part. So I know the first thing Tom said on camera was it's glad to be out of that hole and not listen to that fucking ridiculous music. So we do have to stage a little bit of it because we got to bring you out to where the evasion part's going to happen. So we kind of played it up to it. That was actually an improvised thing. Brent and them played it up to be a prisoner swap, and then they did then they switched it on the ground. Like, we're just going to execute you. So the setup is kind of like they're doing a fake prisoner swap, and then they want to screw you over, and then the good guys or your previous allies are trying to ambush them and get you back. And then it's kind of like a failed kind of ambush, you know. So there's a lot of room to work with that on the production side, but I think it worked out pretty well because it gave the OpFor a reason to be distracted in the first place, because if they're taking gunfire, they're responding to that. So once you guys get loaded up, let's go with Tom first. You know, I'm sure you know the evasion part's coming, but just talk through like what's going through your mind, what you're preparing for, and all that stuff.
Yeah, so just stepping back just a little bit, when I was in the back of the truck, I was feeling around with my hands, with my feet, everything, and I felt there was a can of Red Bull, Monster, rolling around in the back of the truck, and that wasn't obviously planned. And I managed to actually get hold of that with my feet, lift it up to my hand, and put it into my pocket, which was a real bonus.
Was that when Stoker yelled at you when you first got in, or did you do that during the drive?
No, it's during the drive. And anything like that, I mean, even during the interrogation phase as well, if you have any little victories, it's a real morale boost to you, you know, whether it is practical or not. Another thing that happened is I got through, I think, 5 or 6 items through the search as well, and I was sat there the whole interrogation thinking, yes, I got one over on these guys. But on the actual prisoner swap stroke sort of bust out part, as soon as I heard the firing, I was just waiting for those guys to take a couple of steps away from me before I then ran, because, you know, in reality, if you're stood right next to the guys firing, they're just going to turn around and pop you in the head. So I waited for a couple of seconds. I didn't go straight away. And yeah, it was just amazing to have that feeling of freedom. And it, you know, even though we weren't doing it, it wasn't a real life thing, and it wasn't, you know, we're not doing it for real. It was a genuine feeling of, thank God for this. This is amazing. I've got a bit of freedom at last. For anyone watching that bit of footage as well, we didn't have any laces in our boots, so trying to run with no laces in your boots through foliage, you know, trying to get through some manzanitas and all that sort of stuff is not easy going. So that's why we weren't moving possibly as fast as you could have been going if you had laces in your boots. But it was an amazing feeling to get that bit of freedom at last.
Yeah, this guy's asking about the nighttime temperature. When you guys were in the pit, it was lower 50s. And then around the evasion part, we'll get into that with the rain and stuff, but it got into the 40s, which that's shit when you're wet. All right, so Clinton, let's get into your escape.
Yeah. So I was thoroughly relieved when I got out of that pit and got on the whatever it was you guys had me on. I don't even know, because I had a sandbag over my head, but pulled it off, and we are going to execute you. And I didn't expect. The cool thing about it was I was like, how's this escape going to go? I didn't expect the ambush thing to happen. That was quite a surprise, which was really neat. And so there was like a half a second of confusion, like, okay, go. And I think even Jared like tapped my leg and was like, go. And I was like, okay, go. So I took off, and then thinking, I'm relieved. I get through the Manzanitas, and then I just take a spill down that freaking hill, bust up my knee, bust up everything. And I'm like, well, this sucks again. So, but no, it was really good. It was really great. But at the same time, I was relieved to be out of that hole and on the move again. There's a sense of freedom there, I guess, you know?
Yeah. Were you guys expecting to steal equipment? Like you know, like I said, some of this you guys are cued, but on y'all side, we try to keep it as realistic as possible to where you have to think. So were you guys expecting something to be there for you to pick up, or was it just like, all right, there's fucking something in front of me? Or
I was actually expecting to maybe grab our own belt kit, because I know that's what had happened on the previous episodes, where, you know, Brent had basically grabbed a set of belt kit on his way out of the tent. And I ran towards the back of the truck, expecting to see my belt kit there, and I was going to grab it, and I was like, oh, fuck, it's not there. So yeah, that was a bit of a morale killer, because what I'd done, and something I've not mentioned to you guys before, is I'd prepped my belt kit with a few items that were hidden and other things that weren't as obvious as you might think, specifically for potentially going on the run for escape and evasion. So for me, that was a little bit of a kick in the nuts. And to see that shitty little flipping fanny pack, as you'd call it, was not ideal.
Yeah, the last year, Brent and Jared, they got to go through their stuff, and Brent brought his whole freaking deployment issue out, and they got to choose their setup and stuff. And this year, I'm like, well, fuck it. If they're stealing bad guys stuff, it's got to be themed to the bad guy stuff. So Stoker and them, yeah, they didn't even see what the plan was until like 3 a.m. We're up getting ready for all this to go down, and they actually see this stuff. And I might have been Brent was like, that's all they're getting. I'm like, yeah, fuck them, man. So, but I wanted to point out something. I told the guys that I wasn't. You guys were going to escape, and then I just wanted to let you evade and get away from there, and leave you alone. So you didn't get any contact from me until almost an hour away, and I purposely did that. So, Tom, you actually went down into this gulch and kind of got set up, and that's when you went through your gear on your own. But when you guys escape and you're not getting any contact at all, like what's your plans? What are you trying to do? Which direction you running? What's your first initial action?
Personally, for me, all I wanted to do was make the biggest distance away from the enemy as possible, because there was no plan. You didn't know where friendly forces were or friendly lines were or anything like that. My personal plan was just to get away as fast and as most distance as possible, and also put in a couple of dog legs, so not moving in a straight line, but going at right angles and then right angles again, to kind of put off any basically escape and evasion away from the enemy. But yeah, there wasn't a plan to get to anywhere because we didn't have any information of where to get to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it was, I was trying to gain the distance, and then I took that spill, and then I just kind of panicked a little bit, because in my head I'm thinking, oh my, is this injury going to be, am I done? I didn't know what happened. And so then I had to take a couple minutes and just say, just calm down, breathe, assess the situation, figure out what needs to happen. But yeah, I was trying to get as much distance, but man, that terrain, even right where I ducked into, I think even on my escape, I was crawling. So I wasn't even running because it was so thick, where you could get into. And I don't even know how far away I got. And I don't even think it was that far, but, yeah, that was just the plan, to get as much distance as I could, which wasn't much. And then I got hit, and then I had to just kind of calm down and rethink. Sometimes you just have to do that.
Yeah, Brent, do you have something to throw in there?
The only thing I want to say is, we came up with the prisoner swap idea because, if a guy that's a prisoner is told, hey, we're going to go drive you out and execute you, what's he thinking the whole time out there? Fuck, I need to escape. I'm going to die. Right. So it's like, let's tell them we're going to do a prisoner swap. And that way they be calm, cool, and collective, right? Like, why try to escape? I'm going to get exchanged and be back with my, my comrades. So, that was just kind of shoot from the hip, on the fly thing that we came up with. And I think it played into the story real well. And I think the escapes, how they played out and how they materialized, like that all played into the storyline as well. So that was all good.
Yeah, just tell people about okay, again, 24-hour mission, tired, hungry, cold, captivity, miserable. Now you've got a freaking sprint on this horrible terrain. So I don't think many people understand that. What's that like? Could you even use your legs properly?
Personally, for me, I was fine initially. It was only later on during that day, once the kind of adrenaline had worn off, that it became harder physically. And also, I mean, the terrain for me, the route I took, just got worse and worse as I was moving. For anyone watching the series, honestly, trying to move through that just crashed, smashed up shit, it's really thick. It's really, really taxing, really time consuming. So yeah, it just got, for me, it got harder and harder as the day went on. But initially, the first couple of hours, I wasn't messing around. I was just moving as fast as I could, and I didn't have a problem with it at all.
Yeah, I'm trying to throw up I don't have the bandwidth to play the shots while we're doing this, but I'm just kind of trying to throw up some scenes. So Clinton, you actually look pretty fit, escaping in the beginning. I think you got out of there pretty quick.
Yeah, I think it was just an adrenaline push, really, because later on, when I did calm down, climbing up some of them hills and things, and going through the Manzanitas was getting pretty. I started to feel it, but yeah, that initial reaction, and I think it was just the fact of, oh, I can't wait to get the hell out of here. So away from away from those guys and get on the run. So yeah, I had a huge adrenaline push. That's the best way I can really describe it, because I think I just took off. It's hard to kind of recall what was happening because it was all happening pretty quick. But yeah, but once I calmed down and everything, it was time to start moving. Tactically, you start to calm down, and then you can really feel the pressure.
Yeah. All right. So this is Tom got the best shot of doing this map. So I'll just explain my side, and we'll see what the guys thought about it. The previous ones, I would pretty much guide the survivors, we called them, to an extraction point, and so I would kind of update them with sit reps on a azimuth and their course and stuff, give them a little bit of updates. I really wanted to leave you guys alone and let you do all the route planning and everything on your own. And I did not want to have to talk to you. Like, I probably talked to you guys once or 2 or 3 times a piece. And that was usually some kind of admin thing, but I didn't want to be guiding you the whole time. So that was the best way I could think of to do that was, let's just, we can make them draw a map. That's kind of an old skill. It's like you learn how to do, sector sketches and stuff like that. You can kind of recreate maps. So let's go through what it was like on y'all's end. That's your direction to get out of there.
From my point of view, in drawing the map was quite difficult because the interpretation from the instructions could be taken a whole load of different ways. And I think, Randall, you was probably playing, I don't know if he was playing it or whether he was just being solid.
Yeah, I was playing like the kind of the same asshole militia guy, and I'm just trying to, I think this terrain and this, but
yeah. So it was very difficult to actually interpret the information coming over the net, especially when I asked, right, are those numbers Eastins or Northins? And you just came back with, what's that? Because we drew the grid, and then when you said about drawing a number in the bottom left corner, I didn't know whether you meant an Eastern or a Northern grid line. So for those, and also when you're saying about drawing terrain features on, and you're trying to do it over a radio, it's very, very difficult to know if you're actually drawing the right thing on, because that person can't see what you're drawing on the well, in this case, on a sweat rack. I don't know actually whether I got it right or wrong. It sounded like I possibly did, but the thing is, you don't know how far those terrain features are stretching, and again, it's all down to interpretation. So not ideal, but yeah, I think I did an okay job of the information I was given.
Yeah. So Clinton, what did you draw on?
Yeah, I drew on the Commie Manifesto, found a blank page, and I think I actually had to redraw it twice because, like Tom was saying, the interpretation was just kind of insane on doing it. And I actually ended up plotting the wrong point. There was a point where I had to get to high ground and course correct using a drawn map and a carabiner compass. So, which I actually think I did a pretty damn good job at course correcting given what I had to do. I've done multiple land nav courses, so that was, I think, my strong point in a sense of land navigation. But yeah, you giving it over the radio, and I remember you also, based on the previous seasons, hourly sit reps. The guys got that. This is where the enemy is. This is where So I was expecting that, and I think it was even in the briefing before we left the OP, hourly sit reps. So when it didn't happen, I was like, okay, there was a little bit of confusion there. Am I supposed to get it? And then after a while, I'm like, okay, I see what's going on now. So just course corrected and kept going.
Yeah, I got to say, you guys, I was expecting a little bit of resistance on that. This is what I get, dude. And then I put it in there. Well, I think Clinton, you got a video of that calling and asking for some sit reps or anything, and we're just like negative. So that was tough for the rest of the HQ team because I was like, don't tell them shit unless there's really something wrong. Like, so we're trying to simulate, we have scouts out there and we can kind of help you, but it would be the same on our end in real life. We can't give ourselves away and we can't give a whole bunch over the radio. So I'm like, they've got a crappy map and some 6-digit grids. Like let's just see what happens. So, and then Tom specifically mentioned the terrain, like pace count, trying to navigate on that terrain. I mean, what's the most important land navigation skill that aided you guys? You're muted, Tom.
Yeah, without sounding big-headed, I'm quite good at navigation. I teach navigation courses. I do it all the time at weekends. I've spent 25 years in the military navigating myself using basic methods, map and compass. But trying to do it on a map that you've drawn yourself over the radio and using a button compass and not being able to pace count because you're literally just trying to crawl through manzanitas and stuff, it just makes it really, really difficult. And for me, it was just really trying to stay on a bearing, trying to stay in the right direction and stay on the right size of features, that sort of thing. So it's big. It's what we'd call big hand navigation. So, just trying to stay in the right sort of region, in the right areas, in the right direction, as opposed to getting on an actual grid reference. It was pretty much the focus.
Yeah, terrain association was the big one on mine. Did Randall cut out? I don't see him anymore. Anybody else got me?
Yes, mate.
FBI got him.
Yeah.
Okay. I just didn't. I think Randall dropped out, but I guess I'll just keep going. Yeah, terrain association for me. I got to a point where I could actually see that there was one small high point close to that game trail that was there. There was like a small trail, so I could actually see all of the ridge lines, and so I was able to kind of but other than that, when you're in the Manzanitas, it's pretty much Dead Reckoning is the other one that you pretty much had to use with a small compass to get through. So Dead Reckoning and Terrain Association are it. Pace count was pretty much out.
Yeah, there was no way you could pace count through that stuff. I mean, a lot of the time you weren't even on your feet. Hey, you was basically flipping crawling.
And I had that same problem the year previous. There was just, whenever I was a contestant, there was no way of keeping a pace count out there at all.
Yeah, you pretty much just have to pick out, a prominent terrain feature in the direction you're heading that you can see when you're down. You got manzanitas over your head, but you can still see that prominent terrain feature and head that way, and then use your compass to keep you on path as well. So outside of that, man, good luck keeping pace count or anything like that in that environment. So Randall got destroyed by the storm or what?
I'm not sure. I just messaged him to see if he was okay. Judging, I mean, I think I guess you could say it did help was being able to see the terrain from the previous episodes. So there was a little bit of expectation, maybe in a real life scenario, if you were captured and had to escape, unless you had done an area reconnaissance of it. And even then, you're maybe on a map, you might not be able to physically see it through a video. It's hard to, I think it would make it a little bit more difficult. But I think we knew, from season 1 to season 2, the magical word was Manzanitas. I think I had memorized that word as many times as it was said. And seeing you guys do it, it's easy to sit on your couch and watch it and think, well, that doesn't look so bad, you know, and then you get out there and you go, oh, hell no, it's bad. So kudos to you guys from the first season doing it too. But yeah.
Just to answer one of the questions that was in the chat thing there, somebody says, wasn't there a compass hidden? How did that happen? I basically hid a whole load of items in my clothing, and I used my trousers as the base, really, because I knew that we'd probably get our top layers taken off us. And I undid the stitching in my trousers in certain seams and hid a few different items. I actually managed to get through the search. I got a ceramic blade, button compass, a couple of firelighting items, and a ferrocerium rod as well. So just to answer that question there, I basically just took a long time sewing in items into my trousers to hide them and get them through the search.
That's all code word for he put it in his prison wallet.
That's what the Marines call it. I don't know. It's not. There's not an army equivalent.
Yeah, I had actually hid something in my trousers. Were they blouse? A couple of my whole thing was water. You know, if there was a water source, not building a fire. So I grabbed some disinfecting pills. I forget what they're called, but grabbed about 4 of those to use those if I needed to, and hit them in. I don't think they got found, but yeah, that's what I had on me.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there was no water out there, was there?
No, nothing.
Here's a question for you, since Randall's not in here. I'm sure this is something he would ask. So when you guys escaped, we pretty much painted the picture for y'all that the opposite guy, right, was working for us. So you should have gone into the survival scenario thinking that the enemy or the other guy was, you know, hunting you. So were you thinking that? Did that cross your mind, or were you pretty much clued into the fact that, like, hey, no, I'm getting hunted by the OpFor?
I didn't think that at all, to be honest. I thought that was just the standard classic tactic of trying to work people against each other so that we would give up information about the other guy or about our own mission. So personally, I wasn't convinced by that at all. No.
Yeah, I same. I mean, I never had that scenario, but the fact that we were together as much as we were, I kind of thought it's most likely going to be the OpFor. But I did, in the back of my mind, think, well, it still might be Tom because he left before I did, you know. So I'm thinking, okay, yeah, he might be. This is how they're playing it out to get us to hunt each other based on the first 2 seasons. So I kind of did approach it where, yeah, Tom's probably hunting me at this time, you know. And then I knew we were out there for a week, so I thought, okay, this must be my turn to be the survivor. And then when it's all done, I'm going to hunt him later. But yeah, no. And then when it was all done, it was like, nope, you guys are done. I was like, okay, cool. So good job for that. You know, I did think that, yes, Tom was hunting me at the time. As well as
I got a question for you guys. On the use of handcuffs that we used out there. And Tom, I'm going to come back to you on this because I know you have something to say about it too. What was your guys' initial reaction whenever we took you out of the vehicle, put you on the ground, and put actual real handcuffs on you guys? What was your mental reaction to that?
It's a horrible feeling anyway, being handcuffed, because you know that you're not getting out of those handcuffs. You know, you're locked in. You're definitely a prisoner at that point. I personally, because I'm quite broad, I can't actually touch my wrist together behind my back. I can't do it now. And for anyone watching that program, that season, whatever, those handcuffs felt like they was cutting into my hand like a knife. And I think I've got some nerve damage in my thumb from those handcuffs. I still now 4 months down the line, have got a little bit I think I've got nerve damage in my hand. So
not service connected. No.
Yeah. So anyone watching this, we were making a YouTube video. We weren't doing a real selection course, and we weren't being captured by a real enemy at the time. So when I yelled out about those handcuffs, it was real. It was absolute agony. And if I hadn't had them handcuffs taken off by Jared at that point, I would have been in worse state than what I'm at now. And like I say, 4 months down the line, I think I've got a little bit of nerve damage to my hand. So it was a horrible feeling, to be fair.
Yeah, for me it was pretty crazy. I don't think I've ever been handcuffed before. That was probably the first time, but and I started feeling it in my right hand. Like I think I had said it before. I was trying to grip there was a ratchet strap, because I thought this got held on to, but I couldn't even grip the strap. So I think I even said something, hey, these handcuffs have to be loose. And I think whoever it was turned them around, and then we were on handcuffed from the front after that.
Well, the other thing to comment on those handcuffs is, if they're not double locked, they'll keep tightening on you. So I don't think they were double locked. The one we put on you, Swish, man, I don't think we double locked them, because you need a tool to get in there to double lock them. Some handcuffs have like a little lever, but so like when you fell back on the truck, like they probably tightened on you there as well.
Yeah.
No, Tom's handcuffs were double lock, because I had the actual the longer key for it with the little tab on it. Tom's problem was he's just so broad and muscled up that he can't put his arms back behind his back, and should have used two pairs of handcuffs on him is what we should have done, or just flexi cuffs.
And he had a bunch of tools hidden in his ass too. So I mean,
oh yeah, it doesn't help.
Yeah. No lube required either.
Did you guys cover kits at all, loadouts while I was out?
No.
Okay, so what's when you're going through your kit, we kind of did a rundown on screen. I think you already mentioned how detrimental that was to see what you actually had, but what were, besides the land nav stuff, what were some useful items in your kit?
Well, that commie manifesto worked out quite well, didn't it? Shit paper. But to be honest, other than that, really, for me, the only thing that I really got to use, there was a tiny bit of food in there, a very tiny bit of water, and the button compass, which I already had anyway in my trousers. But other than that, not much else really.
Did you not find the little mini survival compass in your fanny pack?
Yeah, that's what I was saying, the button compass. Yeah, I did find that, yeah.
Okay, because I remember when you escaped, you said you had one hidden in your pants too. So did you have two out there?
Yeah. So I did, yeah. I had one in my trousers and I had one in the kit, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Are you done, Tom? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yep.
Oh, no, for me, it was definitely the 550. We could lace up our boots with that. The compass, the manifesto to draw the map on. And I mean, I don't know if I'm getting ahead of myself, but that night, I had a Mylar space blanket. I didn't film it, but it got cold and I was able to put it over me. And I actually had a lighter in my kit, and I just sat there with the lighter and that actually does work. A lot of people don't think it did, but it was able to sustain me enough to where I could at least get somewhat warm, because I was soaking wet towards the end of that night, and I was still under a pine tree. But those were the things that I found most. I lost the knife. There was a little cheap dollar store pocket knife, and I put it in my pocket, and then going through the Manzanitas, I think it just pulled off somewhere and couldn't find it.
Yeah, I purposely gave you guys very different setups. I kind of based it off of skill level and experience, but I also wanted to see what you guys would do. So we didn't get into a full overnight, but I purposely gave Clinton a lighter because I was curious. Tom, you got that little crap knife and a mini ferro rod. So I'm like, okay, well, if they try to, I purposely gave Clinton a lighter because I'm like, it would make it easier to do a fire. So if you're thinking about a survival fire, you got this crap knife and a ferro rod, you might just say, oh, fuck it, I'll figure out another way. But I wanted to screw Clinton over and actually give him the easy source and see if he would just start a friggin' bonfire out there. Didn't happen. But what kind of cold weather gear did you guys have, or wet weather, besides that survival thing?
Yeah, it was just survival blanket and a trash bag. That was it.
What did you get, Clinton? I know you got the emergency blanket. Did I give you a trash bag?
No, I don't know what happened. I thought I had my camera on when I was trying to do a loadout video, and I don't know if it didn't work or something. But yeah, I had it was a Mylar survival blanket, but it was almost like a sleeping bag version because one side of it was completely sealed. I had a little sheepy knife, carabiner compass, 550. The awesome Avengers water bottle. But which was good because it was, good to have a little bit of water. So then it was learning how to, or not learning, but managing conservation of water. How long am I going to be out here? I got to conserve this water too. See what else did I have? 550. I think that was about it. Is all I could really. Oh, and a shemagh I cut in half and put over me for, just to kind of break up my silhouette. And with my knee, I was able to tie it up just to, stop. I mean, it wasn't a bad cut, but I didn't know how bad it was at the time. I just knew I had to stop the bleeding and all that good stuff. And some 100-mile-an-hour tape.
Yeah, so you got the more heavy duty thing, and that was also for the rain. And Tom got a trash bag and the little wimpy survival thing. So I think we started getting rain early afternoon. Did you guys already think to cover yourself up, or were you thinking you were just going to try to evade through the rain?
Well, I was on the move at that stage, and I didn't have the option of stopping or trying to cover myself up, so I didn't have that option at all.
Yeah, I was just evading. It was pretty light during the day. It didn't feel like it was bad enough to where I had to stop because it would sprinkle a little bit and then it would stop, and then it would sprinkle a little bit and then it would stop. But I was also, I just kind of used the foliage as best as I could in some spaces, crawl right under a real thick manzanita or a real thick pine tree. Because I think when I had called Peanut Butter, when I wanted to check my knee, you're like, well, you're not that wet. And it was because some of the pine trees were providing pretty good cover. There was a pine forest out there to use. So that way I wouldn't have to use what was in my bag instead.
Yeah, you were pretty dry relatively all the way to the end. So, Tom, what got you? Because you were absolutely soaked.
Yeah, so what happened with me is I got to a point where I thought I was at the extraction point, but it was way earlier than where it actually was. And that's whilst it was dry. And then when I realised I needed to continue and make up quite a bit of ground, that's when it actually started raining. So, and it was raining quite heavy later on in the afternoon. And not only you've got the rain, you've got the foliage you're moving through was soaking wet. The ground was soaking wet. And I was literally soaking from head to toe, every inch of my body, my socks and everything. So that's why I got so wet. I was having to make up that ground, and it was heavy rain whilst I was moving. And there was no way I couldn't stop because I had to get to the extraction point by that certain time.
Okay, so you broke out the trash bag later at night?
Yeah, so after the failed extraction, which obviously we'll talk about in a minute because we haven't gone that far, but after the failed extraction, I evaded to a point where, I thought over the radio, I was told by the friendly forces to hold up. I got the trash bag out, made some overhead cover, wrapped myself up in the Mylar blanket. But yeah, at that point, the temperature massively dropped and I was soaking wet. So, and there wasn't an option to start a fire. Obviously, the enemy are after you and everything was soaking wet anyway.
Yeah, that's a good point for people who haven't done anything like this. I was picturing you cutting holes in that trash bag once the rain started and using that as a improvised thing. But what you just mentioned, the fire, you also have to consider the stealth aspect.
The noise.
So yeah, and the noise, which that heavy rain might cover that, but now there's like a black trash bag essentially walking through the forest. So the route you took, you also, I think you went through a little bit of the pine forest toward the end, but it had already rained a bunch. But you were kind of in the open manzanita and shit, crawling. And Clinton just got into that pine forest a little bit earlier. So yeah, it seemed like, Clinton was able to use the overhead cover a lot more. So
I think
you
that
guys,
I think that goes to show, Randall, if you don't mind me saying, that you don't always get to pick. You're at the mercy of the terrain. I mean, you don't always get to choose where you're going. I think I just got lucky in that sense of where I was at and the time of day. I think if it was swapped around, I would have been the one soaking wet, getting hypothermic, and Tom would have been nice and dry. So it just shows that the unpredictability of what happens when you're on the run.
yeah, and I showed how close you guys got. So on one of the OpFor patrols early on, Jared and that Raven dude, they were kind of trying to get in there and probe. I think they were going after where you were, Clinton, and then Jared ended up pushing so far west. I had no idea. I thought Tom would stay on the whole other side of the AO, and I thought you would, you pretty much almost took a straight route, and then Tom definitely, you could tell he was following those spurs down to where his point was. But I had no idea you guys would get so close. It was, I hoped for it because I still thought you guys might think the other one is hunting you. But yeah, Jared ended up going out there, and I think I put that in the episode, looking after you, Clinton. But he actually got closer to Tom, and that's when Tom was kind of hunkered down. Just so let's go through that. What's how much activity are you hearing out there? Are you seeing other bodies, or is it all just noise?
So when I was I was held off where I thought the extraction point was, which was actually much earlier than where it was. I heard Bill over the megaphone talking about, coming back to us, we'll look after you and all this sort of stuff. So he was really, really close to where I was at that point, probably 50 meters away. Also, I heard a whole load of people shouting and stuff, probably about 100 meters away at another point. And further on, when I was making my way through the rain and stuff, and I was moving over a high feature, I actually saw someone probably 100 meters away. Saw the outline of them, and I don't know who it was because I couldn't see their face. But I saw them. I saw the outline of a person on like a top of a high feature, and I had to totally change my course, my direction, because I saw that person. If I'd carried on going, I would have walked straight towards them. And I don't know who it was, whether it was OpFor, whether it was Clinton, I don't know. But I'm guessing it may have actually been Clinton. And I was thinking at the time, but because I didn't have any kind of observation device, I couldn't make out who it was. So I had to kind of play on the safe side and just do another dog leg and get away from, where he was.
Oh, here's a question for Clinton. So just you got hurt on your escape, and you were pretty stressed. So what the hell does that do to your morale and stuff? at the very beginning of your evasion, getting hurt.
Yeah, it did. I thought, man, I'm done. Like, I just got done escaping, just got through all this crap, only to let this stop me. So what was happening? I was, I saw this kind of little ravine downhill, and I thought, well, I'll use that to my advantage to gain some distance going downhill. And there was some logs, little tiny logs, and I tried stepping over them, but one foot got caught, and I just went head up, and went down and tore my trousers and cut myself, and just thinking, oh, great, this is, I think I even got over the radio, said my knees busted up, and then I told myself, okay, stop, calm down, assess the situation, let's see how bad it really is. And then once I realized, okay, it's not terrible, and I was able, but when you're crawling too on that same knee, over time, that whole day, it was just getting worse and worse and worse. And that's why eventually I had to call, because, like Tom said, this is for, YouTube and stuff. and we have families to go back to, and I know I have a job to support my family. So I called that because I'm like, I don't want to further injure myself. I didn't know how bad it was. So I figured it was just a good idea not to, are you tapping? No, I'm not tapping. I just want to make sure I can keep going for safety issues, But yeah, that's kind of what was going through my head.
Yeah, and so you got a little bit of empathy from me because we had 2 injuries out there. Well, actually 3: Tom's wrist and his feelings. And I took a spill on the capture because I can't run on uneven terrain without killing myself. So when you said you hurt your knee and stuff, I'm like, damn it, because I just realized I was still hobbling around. I was like, yep, that sucks. So it's a good thing you're all right. But let's talk about the bad guys hunting. So I put a lot of constraints on the OpFor in the beginning. What kind of I know later on we're gonna show a little bit more of y'all's operations behind that. That's what I really want to beef up in the next ones is actually show the audience how you guys are planning your stuff and how you're conducting yourself. But some of the patrols you guys did, what kind of methodology are you going through out there looking for people?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, we divided up into two-man teams. So there's 2 guys on each survivor. So I'll let Bill take it from there.
Yeah, I mean, starting off, I was moving down the one trail, and I mean, that wasn't a megaphone. That was just a man's voice that you heard, Tom. Just a man's voice. And then it's a little bit later, Brent and I met up, and that's kind of when we parted up into teams, and we started patrolling up and down. And then we went probably 400 to 600 meters down the trail and then back up, and then it made the decision, Riggs, come on, bud, to move away from where we assumed that Tom was at in order to try to give him some space to move, and then maybe we could see and react to that. If he was held up in a cubbyhole somewhere because he's hearing movement all over the place, that wasn't going to do us any good because you're not going to see anything in the man's knee unless you come right up on somebody. So I think we're kind of hoping that if we could kind of get away from him a little bit, but in the direction that we knew that he would probably end up moving, we would have the opportunity to maybe see. So we kind of set up a LPOP and ended up sitting in there for, I don't know, felt like a couple hours anyways.
Yeah, and so we got kind of a loadout for the survivors. We don't need to break everything down, but the biggest complaint I heard for the hunting side was their limitations. So Brent, I think you were definitely loaded down with gear. You want to talk about the advantages the OpFor had this time around?
Yeah, I mean, we had essentially all the advantages that you could expect from like a hunting party, right? Like we all had MVGs, and like I had a thermal binocular. We had radios, so we had good comms between the Stoker and I and the other team. So we were constantly in communication. The longer the challenge went on, we kind of saw the direction that they were headed, and because all of the OpFor have been out there, and this wasn't our first rodeo out there, like we've know the lay of the land, and there's certain landmarks out there that we all know, and one of those is you guys heard it in the show, Coleman's camp. Well, that's where Coleman did his little campfire challenge or whatever in season 1, and then like where I was held captive in season 2, like that's a landmark. So like as we're going on, we're kind of getting the progression in the direction that the enemy is moving in. We're kind of putting 2 and 2 together. We didn't know where the extractions were, so we're kind of putting 2 and 2 together, like where these guys are headed. Well, these guys are heading towards, in the vicinity of Coleman Camp, or these guys are heading in the vicinity of, where I was held captive. So we had, between the 2 teams, I think we had a pretty good, plan assembled, and that wasn't even, we weren't even really using the UAVs. They didn't even have the UAV asset yet. So, you know,
And the rain hurt that one.
Yeah,
I know I can fly it a little bit in the rain, but you know, didn't want to risk it. But yeah, thermals, night vision, and everything. And we also had crap illumination. I think it was less than 20%. So by the time it gets dark, Tom and Clinton are out there stumbling around in the darkness, mostly just trying to use their compass. So, and then the OpFor's got night vision, headlamps, and all this other shit. So anyway, how are you guys navigating out there in the dark? And I'm asking because, with the military lensetic compass, you can set your bezel ring, which glows, and you can just hold that and walk and at least maintain some kind of course. What are you doing with this crap little survival compass you got?
So I'll kick off with this. Just to start though, before we talk about the actual navigation itself, there was no moonlight whatsoever, nothing, and we're moving through very thick terrain, very thickly, vegetated terrain. Plus, when you get into the woodlands, you got your overhead cover as well, so you could literally put your hand in front of your face and you couldn't see your hand. That's how dark it was. So anyone watching this thinking, why these not getting a grip of themselves. Again, no sleep for 2 days, and then you're navigating at night and you can't see anything, and it's pissing down the rain. Stumbling over, there was lots of deforested areas as well, so he was constantly banging shins off bloody tree stumps and logs and stuff like this. But the navigation itself was very hard to keep on a bearing. So personally, I had a little, what you guys would call a flashlight, I'd call it a torch. I actually lost that whilst I was on the run. So as I was crawling through the manzanitas, it was in like a little external pocket on the bum bag, the fanny pack.
So you owe me $1.
Yeah. So
well, we'll call it even for your wrist.
Yeah. So there was no. I didn't have my torch with me at all. The only means I had to illuminate, to look at my compass, was on the radio on the top. I mean, I have no idea why they put these things on these radios. It's freaking ridiculous. But there was a little flashlight function on the torch, on the radio. That's the only method I had to look at my compass. And it throws out a massive beam of light. It's fucking ridiculous. So I had to basically put my compass inside my jacket, put my head inside, zip everything up, put the torch on, look at it. And after I've been blinded by the light, try and work out which fucking way I'm walking. It was really, really hard at night. Really hard.
Yeah, Clinton, what was your plan? How'd you navigate?
Well, that little Caribbean compass actually glowed for a little bit, so I was fortunate to have that. But once it wore out really quickly, so I actually used my shemagh and took my lighter and just kind of laid down on the ground, as best as I could, and then took my lighter and used it as a light source, and then it made it glow for a little bit longer, so I was actually able to keep a pretty decent bearing, because I had that shemagh that I was able to, but I had to physically lay down on the ground and just to keep it masked so no one would see anything, especially using a lighter, even in that, it was a risk. I was like, okay, do I take this risk? Because even when it's that dark out, I mean, you can see a lighter from forever away. And I just hope to God that my shemagh masked it. And I think it did, because I don't think anybody saw it.
Yeah, this guy had it easy, man.
Yeah. And that's the point of the loadouts, is I wanted you guys to be able to demonstrate your creativity. So, and that's why I also gave you guys some different things. Did you guys assume that the OpFor would have night sights, thermals, and stuff?
Yeah, I knew that they definitely have nods. I didn't know about thermals, but I know they definitely have nods, II and stuff like that.
Okay, because the last seasons it wasn't in there, and I keep teasing how we're going to change things up and all, but I did put in y'all's initial mission briefing the OpFor capabilities, the PLA's capabilities. So did anything from the initial op order when you showed up, did any of that come into your mind while you were out there evading, or did you just kind of throw that away?
No, I still had those sort of points of note in my head about how they were operating. So I was bearing that in mind, and it was affecting how I was going to, evade and operate myself.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I could have sworn I remember that there was thermals, so I lived with the assumption that there were thermals, and I was thinking if I had to bed down, where would be the best place to go so I could be static but somehow still avoid any kind of thermal imaging wherever I was, which would obviously have to be something really thick overhead, and hopefully utilizing the space blanket as best as I can, but keeping air between and only being somewhere for a short time and then having to move because eventually your body heat's going to show through it no matter what. But that was going to be my that was going to be my plan anyway.
All right, cool. Stoker, you want to throw anything out before you take off?
Yeah, no, I think it's badass that both of y'all came out to California and put yourself through this event. It's a testament to both y'all's character for sure, because you're going into some place that you don't know, to people that you don't know, and to an event that you don't know how it's going to be run. And there's nothing that's going to test your skills, your abilities, your attributes, and your competencies like that. And there are, as Randall and I have talked about in other videos and commentaries, there are hundreds of people who have not raised their hand and said, "Here I am, send me." But both y'all answered the call, and I got nothing but respect for both you guys for everything that you put yourselves through and how you perform. So, outstanding job, and I'm glad our paths crossed. Amigos for life, man.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate that, mate.
Thanks, Stoker. It was great to meet you as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, man. Yeah. So we'll slowly start wrapping this up, guys. If you want to throw your last questions in there as we're wrapping up, we'll try to get to them. But let's get to getting to extraction. So they got pretty limited information on the extraction. They got a 6-digit grid when they first began. Extremely limited guidance to get there. So you guys did awesome job navigating with what you had. And then I think about an hour before y'all's extraction, I just gave you a quick, hey, this is how it's going to go. And it ended up kind of being like a Vietnam style thing, because you don't know, you don't know what other vehicles are out there. You don't know where the OpFor is. So it's basically like, hey, I'm going to roll by. When you see the headlamp come on, that's your cue. So let's see. Yeah, Tom was first and got shot the hell out of there. But actually, no, before we get to that, Brent, go through your ambush setup real quick.
Yeah, so we went down to where I was held captive in season 2, and it's kind of a large open area, so really good visibility. Stoker and I got up on the kind of the side of the hill, was overlooking this whole thing. Yeah, there's a picture of it, at least from one different angle. And so Stoker and I were kind of up on the top right corner of that picture up in there, and we could see like this whole big opening area. Just real good visibility up there. So we were up there, him and I sitting, looking through our optics. Again, visibility is garbage. But still, with a PBS 14 and with my thermal, I could still see. So I could still see if somebody were to step out. So we were up there. I can't remember how long we were sitting up there, and then we actually saw Tom come walking out, and I've got footage on that on my thermal. He comes walking out into the opening, and he kind of like, because again, you can't, if you're just looking naked eye, you can't see shit. Like, it is super dark, and he just kind of walks out, and we could hear the 4-wheeler. So we knew, like, hey, extraction's about to happen. So we just I kind of got some good footage of him walking around. He's not clueless, but you know, he can't see shit. It's kind of like trying to find the light switch in the dark room. So we just wanted to get some good footage of him like kind of meandering around in that little area. And you know, sure shit, like that four-wheeler gets closer and closer, and here comes Randall. It's like, all right, they're about to do extraction, man. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, so Tom, walk us through. You got sat there for a while, got rained on, and then let's go through your ambush.
Muted.
Muted.
Roger. Yeah, so I went through to my extraction point now, got myself in some cover, and then once I got the shout from yourself, who was doing the extraction, I moved forward to the extraction point, and yeah, the whole thing went shitstorm straight away. I mean, shots fired, explosions, stuff like that, and yeah, I kind of realised straight away that this was planned as a failed extraction. I'm thinking, you bastards. So yeah, I was literally on top. I mean, you'll remember, Randall, I was literally on top of you as you sped away, and I was running after you, sprinting after the back of that quad bike, with the shots going off behind me, thinking, you fuckers. And I was running uphill as well, as you was driving away. In real life, I think possibly that guy may not have driven away quite so quickly, and he would probably let me get on the back of the bike. But anyway, yeah, I saw it for what it was. I realised straight away, yeah, this is part of the plan. They're just going to let me, you know, carry on into the night, and the quad bike just carried on going. Shots were being fired behind me. The people shouting at me. I could hear people shouting in Russian, "Stoi, stoi," and all that shit. And basically what I did is I basically used the track to get the distance between myself and the enemy forces. And then I broke off away from the track, got into the foliage, and then hid myself away, and then just went totally quiet, went still, because I knew they were going to be following up.
Yeah, I mean, that footage looks horrible. When I first saw it, I'm like, damn, he was right there. But I did sit there for a while. So I know in the future, I'm going to tell them I'm creeping by, and then I'm creeping by. I ain't stopping. So, yeah, could have gone either way. But, you know, if I'm playing the guy who's scared, you know, back to the mountain man role, you know, it's possible he does just leave your ass there because he's exposed on a quad, you know.
Yeah. And when I did get into that forest and I was in the foliage, I actually watched the OpFor go past. One guy on a quad bike, I think that was Bill, went past on a quad bike, and I sat there and watched him go past me, and he was pretty close. And I thought to myself, I wonder if there's going to be a foot patrol following us up, you know, making me think that's the bad guy's just gone past. And that's exactly what happened. And Brent walked past on foot probably 20 seconds, 30 seconds later. And I'm so glad I stayed where I was, because if I had walked out back onto the track, I would have been caught at that point.
Yeah, that was exactly the plan. So Bill was to ride off with the four-wheeler, and I'm like, all right, this guy, because Tom did a great job, man. He got distance. As soon as we came off the side of that hill and we started walking down the trail where he was ran off to, like, he was nowhere to be seen. And I had walked down a little bit further down, still couldn't see him. Came back, and I was like, hey, Bill, freaking, you know, get on that bike and drive away, make him think we left. And I'll just hang back with my optics, and we'll see if he gets back on the trail. And you know, Bill takes off, and just like Tom said, you know, waited several minutes, and then I started walking down again. And then the trail actually forked, and that fork went up the side of another hill. So I thought he had gone up there. So I went up that hill, and I looked around up there for a long time. And then finally I came back down, and Bill had walked back down. So he had driven up, parked, and then came down on foot again. We linked back up, and we were looking around, and couldn't find him. Didn't know where Tom. And I was pulling out the thermal and looking around with the thermal, and I didn't look at him. However, Randall, you showed some footage of me scanning the side of a hill, and there was a heat signature. So like, I don't know if that was Tom or what, but, and I even like zoomed in on it. So I I don't know if it was something like I saw and I was zooming in, wasn't sure. And
I think that must have been wildlife, mate, because I know from where we ended up seeing you again later on, I was the other side of a feature. So I was the other side of a, like a hillside. I wasn't kind of in line of sight to you. So possibly wildlife.
Okay.
Yeah, Tom went up that hill just north of the creek, and that's almost it's across the creek from where Jared made his escape last year. And it's I don't know, you caught him there toward the end when he started coming down, but I think he got a hold up pretty good there. So, what does that do to your morale, Tom? Because you know when your flight home is, so you can kind of pace the event, but knowing there's possibly another 20 hours out there, you're already soaking wet, hypothermic. What's that like, seeing your extraction vehicle drive away, and then I don't call you on the radio again?
Yeah, so I got in touch with the other friendly call sign, and he just said to me, basically, hold up for the night. And I was okay with that, apart from the fact that I was soaking wet from head to toe. If I hadn't been wet, I would have been fine. And the other thing is, you can't start a fire. The enemy are after you. So in real life, I would have had to sit there and wait for instruction to where to move next. This wasn't real life, so I wasn't prepared to put my life on the line to make a YouTube video. I've been in hypothermic situations before. I've experienced it, and after a few hours, I identified that in myself, and I started slipping in and out of consciousness. And I was like, okay, I need to do something about this. I'm not willing to risk my life to continue, and I was literally soaking wet head to toe. And the temperatures dropped. It was nighttime, and there was no other way of getting warm. So I basically made the call to meet up with a member of the directing staff, and I just needed to move on from that point, because there was no point walking around, because I didn't know which direction to walk, and because I had to stay static, I was just getting colder and colder and colder.
Yeah, and because of y'all's escape times and everything, I purposely left you alone, just like the initial escape. I'm like, all right, we'll just let them sit and fester for a little bit and wonder what the hell's happening now. Also with the enemy around you. And so that also gave us the time to turn our attention to Clinton for his stuff coming up. Clinton, you actually were in position pretty early. I think you were sitting there. Did you hear the ambush on Tom?
No, I didn't hear anything. I know I'd gotten into a position where I could see lights somewhere, and I immediately called on the radio, because I'm like, is that my extraction? Because I know, again, basing everything off the previous season, I know when Brent made his extraction, he just walked right up to it, at least what I saw on film. So I thought, okay, am I just supposed to go up to that? Is that my extraction? And then he called, I think, was it Eagle who answered, no, we need you to move back. I think like 50 meters, so I had to move back. And then you guys just had me waiting there forever. It felt like so long, and it was just piss and rain. And that's when I started getting soaked, just standing there waiting. I was in the prone almost forever, and it was just raining on my back. Then I moved back to kind of under a pine tree where I could have a little bit, but I was already soaked by that point. So that's when I got the bag out a little bit. The rain kind of masked. The space blanket thankfully was camo on one side, so I was able to get it out and warm myself up a little bit. And then you got on, Randall told me just move south about, I forget what the distance was, and I was moving pretty slow because I crossed that road that was there and got in a position. And then it was wait for the headlamp, and then you pulled around there. You actually went right past me on your quad. Like you came up over this hill, came around, and went right past me. And I thought, what the hell is he doing? I'm right here. And but when you said, okay, go over the radio, I took off at a dead sprint to try. And at that point, I'm thinking, okay, I think it's finally over. I actually had a sigh of relief, thinking, because my knee was just on fire at this point, even though it had been wrapped. It was just, so I didn't care about the pain at that point. I'm like, get to that quad as fast as you can. And then I think it was Rich who stepped out, or it might have been Jared. And I couldn't see, it was too dark, but and popped a couple of shots. And then you took off, and then I ran up that hill, and I think Jared came after me at that point. And I'm like, okay, failed extraction. That's when it was hitting me all at once. So I'm running, my knees hurting. I'm thinking, and I could see Jared, I think it was Jared, white lighting. He had his white light on me. And I knew if I'm to escape, there's no way I'm going to outrun because I'm tired. My knee hurts. I was going uphill. So my thought was find a thick brush, see if I could duck into that and slowly move away. And that's what I did. And I don't know if I disappeared from Jared's sight. He might be. I wish this would have been on film, but I could see Jared coming up on the white light, and I thought, oh, he's going to see me. So the best chance I have at this point is to run. So I got up and ran, and that's when he just tackled me right into these little thin Mancinitas, just got me real good. And then that was my capture. And I was slightly disappointed that I didn't keep going, but at the same time, slightly relieved, as I'm sure maybe everybody else was, because I was like, well, at least it's over. And I felt I did the best that I possibly could dealing with the knee, moving in that terrain. But yeah, I still wish I could have actually seen from a camera's perspective the actual takedown. It would have been great. But as dark as it was, it still would have been hard to see.
Yeah. So it was about just a little over 62 hours of your total time and everything. So you're talking about running away and running uphill. That's something we cannot convey to viewers, how exhausted you are, hungry. Now you're, just cold and soaked. Like that's, yeah, I mean, you guys, it was, we definitely upped the ante on this one. And it was a lot more fun on our side too. So it's cool to play with this every year. And just see how it develops. But, when we started getting to the nighttime, the few times we could chat, people were just like these guys are fucking tough, man. Cause, I actually went across the creek to get set in pretty early for y'all's extraction. And I remember sitting there, and I'm the spoiled guy going back and forth between a truck and an ATV. So I go out there like a dumb grunt with none of my wet weather gear on. So I get set in about an hour before Tom's supposed pickup, and then it just starts pissing down on us again. So Brent and Stoker are in their ambush position getting pissed on, and I'm sitting there on the quad getting pissed on, just waiting, and I'm just sitting there like, yep, this is some good old grunt shit again, just out here in the elements. But yeah, so the funny thing about Tom is, you had been having issues toward the end, and you were keeping us. I don't want people to think we just said, well, screw this guy, we'll let him die out there. Tom had been calling us, checking in, and maybe 30-40 minutes up to your capture, we knew you had some safety issues. And so I was kind of wrapped up with Clinton. So with the HQ guys, they were like, yeah, he's calling me and he's in trouble. So I'm like, okay, well, tell him to sit down and look through his kit, see what he can come up with. I could kind of see the end coming though. I figured if you're calling, it must be a dire situation for you to get to that point. But the funny thing is, I'm talking to Stoker, and I didn't tell him what was going on, but I was like, yeah, we might have an issue. So I was thinking, instead of having Tom come in, let's have him actually get captured. That'll make it more fun. And so me and Stoker are planning that, and then we start trying to call Brent to give him a heads up, like, hey, let's go try to capture this dude. But that's when you had already made the decision to come down and try to seek help. And we could not reach Brent on the radio, or at least I couldn't. So that's the hilarious thing, is we know what's coming, and you're just trying to come down and not get killed by the weather. But Brent is in the dark on what our plans are. So it was just awesome that he actually really goes for the capture, shoots at you and everything. And you're like, I tried to boost the sound, but I had to put the text in there. You know, like fucking Brent's still full on bad guy mode, and you're like, dude, I'm fucking done. I'm about to die.
Yeah, he was like, "Stay." I'm like, "Fucking stop that shit." I'm literally about to fucking pile in, man.
I was patrolling. So I was, I'm scanning the sides of the hills. I'm patrolling the area, and then all of a sudden I'm looking through my thermal, and I see. Actually, no, I think I was looking through my NVGs, just walking, and I see this dark silhouette figure on the trail or near the trail. I'm like, whoa, what the fuck? And then I pull out my thermal and I look through my thermal and I see a dude, and I knew Stoker had gone the opposite direction. I'm like, is that him? I was super excited, dude. I'm like turning on. I've got a little NVG recorder, so I'm like turning on my NVG recorder. I'm like filming him through my monocular thermal for a minute. I'm like, oh fuck, this is going down. Hell yeah! So I'm getting close, and then I'm like, story, and then shooting around. And he's like, bro, I'm done, man. It was pretty funny.
I don't know if people caught it, but I switched to Brent's night vision cam, and that's when Tom, you were just full on walking out in the open, and I tried to boost the audio, but you can actually hear Brent click his friggin' AK onto fire. It's just funny. I had and you can actually hear Stoker come running up once that happens, because we were playing in that and we couldn't reach Brent. So I'm like, dude, fucking get down there and try to make this look cool, because I wasn't sure what capabilities Brent had to capture that. Luckily, he got some on his camera, but Bill had just come running up and it was already done.
Yeah, unfortunately, the little NVG recorder that I have for my 14s, it's all right. The audio is really low, and whatever you're seeing through that is going to be like darker than what I'm actually seeing. But at least it's better than not having anything. So,
yeah. All right. Well, final questions to the audience, and then you guys, we'll go around and you guys can add in any final thoughts you want to offer up. We'll see if we get any more questions. So we got Brent top left. We'll go with him first.
So I just wanted to say, like, this is obviously the third season, and I saw some comments in the minority that were saying like, oh, I liked the previous season's method and way they did it. Like, I just want to say, like, I 100% disagree with any of those type of comments. I thought this season was absolutely the best possible way to conduct this challenge. It incorporated every aspect of SERE, from the sleep deprivation, doing the initial mission, to the capture, to the interrogation, to the escape, to the evading, like every aspect. And then on top of all that, you have the environmental factors, the terrain, the weather. I mean, it was just amazing. And I hope going forward we keep this model of the SERE challenge. Not to say that the previous seasons weren't good. They were good. They were fun. But I think this is a far more challenging aspect to the challenge. Incorporates far more of what the end state is, like incorporating all the aspects of SERE. And to the contestants, they did fantastic. And as one of the guys already commented in the stream here, like the fact that both guys didn't technically make it to the extraction and win is a testament to how tough this challenge is and can be. So keep that in mind. Like if you're putting in to do this, like test your mettle, put yourself through it. But it's not a guarantee, like victory in the end. Like it's tough. You might be rained on, and you might have to figure out how to try to survive in those conditions. So that's my 2 cents. I thought it was fantastic. Hats off to the 2 contestants. They did fantastic. The OpFor, the headquarters element, it was just absolutely awesome. And I hope everything pans out that we can come back and do season 4 and one up the previous season.
Yeah, I'd like to give the 2 contestants the final word. So, Jared, what do you got to add, man?
Yeah, like Brent was saying, some of the negative comments out there from the audience saying how easy it is. I mean, come out and do it. It's not easy by any means. I mean, but yeah, as far as with Clinton, trying to get him on film, we were kind of my team was a little bit late getting down to the extraction point. So we weren't in the greatest position to get Clinton. So I actually was still on the road whenever he got shot off the extraction point, and he was running up the hill, and I had to run across the hill to get to him. So by the time, and so I white lighted him. By the time I got over to that area, I did lose sight of him. And as I was still running, he had already dove back behind a tree and in some brush. And as I was approaching him, I was within 10 or 15 feet of him. I saw his little feet move in the bushes to get up and start running. So at that point, I just went over, or I started running after him, and I tackled him. I think I yelled stop at him or something like that, and it was over at that point. But yeah, if you guys think you have it, come on out and do it. It's a good time. It's good camaraderie, and it's not easy.
Well, it's a good time for us, anyways.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I talk enough, but I just like to say these guys are some true badasses. And my favorite part of this is just working with people who enjoy doing this stuff. It's on the crew side and anybody who comes out and tries this, it's fun as hell, and it's an experience. And I don't think it's possible to show just how hard it is and how fun it is through a video media. There's just a lot of things you can't get across. But I'll let Tom and Clinton give their final thoughts. So Clinton, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to you guys for letting me do this challenge. It was one of the best and most difficult challenges I've done, But yeah, Jared, no, that was pretty awesome at the end. Like I said, I wish I could have got it on, but we didn't. It's okay. But yeah, again, as far as the negative comments, I know a lot of people said to that. I welcome the negative comments because negative publicity is still publicity. So keep commenting, and we can get more publicity on it. That's just my opinion. But yeah, and it was great to work with Tom. I learned a lot from Tom. Because he's had SERE training, so it was great to just share ideas with him and him kind of giving me a lot of good advice on what to do. But it was just an epic experience to me, and it was great to meet all of you, Brent and Randall and Stoker and Coleman and Rich as well. I don't think he's been mentioned hardly at all. But this was a great challenge. I look back and I still think, man, I can't believe I did that. But I'm proud to have been a part of it, whether I got captured or not. It was still fun, and look forward to hopefully seeing you guys. Unfortunately, I won't be able to be a part of season 4, but maybe season 5 and 6 and stuff like that. Look forward to hanging out with you guys again.
Yeah, Tom, there is a final question for you. I think me and you are the only ones that's actually been through official training. So you can start off with this one. How many of you actually did the U.S. Army or Marine SERE course, and what are the similarities and differences? So then your final thoughts.
Okay, so I did the UK military SERE course 3 times, and that's a 2-week-long course each time. Okay, that consists of 5 days. Well, you do a couple of days training at start, then you do a survival package where you're just literally in an area learning survival skills. Then you go on the run for 5 days. So you've got 5 days with no food or water. You have to try and scavenge what you can. And then at the end of that, you then get a 36-hour interrogation phase. So you're totally, degraded by the time you've got to that phase. So it's a very, very hard course. And anyone thinking, oh, well, it's not the American course, it's a NATO standard course, okay? So I've done that 3 times over. This thing that we did here was shorter, obviously, but it was in parts just as hard. Okay, so it's comparable. especially the interrogation phase. There was different techniques used, but it was very comparable. So anyone out there that thinks we've just gone through like a little bit of a fun event, it wasn't like that at all. One of the challenges I think Randall was facing in editing this whole thing was showing everything we're going through, but not making it boring. Okay, so if you was to watch 24 hours worth of us being stressed out, listening to crappy music, stupid noises, white light in our faces, no sleep, no food, no water, you wouldn't watch it. You'd be bored. Okay, but that's literally what we faced just during that one phase. And again, the same during the OP phase, it would be very boring watching 24 hours worth of observing a target, but being under stress and then having to do reconnaissance and stuff like that. So just to put things straight, the things that we did in this challenge, it was done properly. There was no shortcuts. There was no Hollywoodisms where we were given like little treats off camera or anything like that. All the stuff you saw was real. So just to put that thing straight there, it was on par in some ways with the real courses. But in general, my points then were, firstly, I'd like to say thanks to Randall for allowing me to take part in this challenge. I really appreciate it to get that opportunity to take part in this. I might be a bit sick in the head, I don't know, to want to still do this thing after doing it for real in the military several times over. But it's nice to still be able to challenge yourself at any point in your life. And also to the rest of the guys that made the event happen, thanks. And it was great to be able to meet you guys, Brent and Jared and Bill and the rest of the guys. It was great to meet all you guys. So that was great. And also to Clinton as well. Really nice to be able to work with you, Clinton. And hopefully I managed to pass on some experience before you went into that experience of being captured and it being interrogated. Not a nice experience, especially when you've had no real training. But yeah, a very good, well-run challenge. There are some things that I would have changed if I was doing it myself, but every time you do something the first time, it's going to have its own challenges itself, and it's going to be difficult to kind of maintain exactly how you're going to do things and how to mitigate issues and threats and stuff like that. But well done, Randall, for everything you did.
Yeah. All right. We got one more surprise coming, but yeah, I just appreciate dudes coming out and putting in the effort on the crew side. That's badass. And then anybody who has the balls to come out here and put themselves through the event, because like Tom said, there's no turn the cameras off and hey, come inside and warm up. We really try to immerse these guys as much as possible. So they're in the pit the whole time. They're in the woods the whole time. So if anybody is interested, you can find the link all over the channel or in the description of this if you're interested in come out participating. And then speaking of complete footage, the members of the channel, you can become a member on the channel and you can see all of the contestants from each season's complete runs. So unedited and everything. And the only surprise you will get is, like Tom mentioned, you will see a dude walking through the woods for an hour straight, things like that. So that's the only kind of editing we'll do on that. So with that, I think we have a special guest that has some words for us, and then we'll be out of here. So thanks to everybody involved, and thanks for the contestants, and thanks to the audience for showing this thing some love. And we'll see y'all in season 4. So take it away, comrade.
I just want to say that their bodies were disposed of properly as we pissed on them, these capitalist pig bitches. See you in season 4.